Hola, ¿qué tal amigos? Les saluda su amigo Antonio Cisneros y sean todos ustedes bienvenidos una vez más aquí a su canal de información. En esta ocasión le traigo 3 entrevistas juntas, son subtituladas, disculpen para la persona que me pidió que fueran, que las hablara. Lo que pasa que esta ya la tenía preparada desde hace mucho tiempo. Estas 3 entrevistas que voy a presentar juntas, las puse juntas para que ustedes entiendan realmente, porque es un tema que me imagino que muchos no conocen. Es un tema sobre la inteligencia artificial y para mí es muy importante. Entonces los 3 hablan de lo mismo y como si subía un capítulo se iban a quedar con muchas dudas. O sea, lo que hice, junté los 3. Estos 3 capítulos fueron los últimos que se grabaron en el año pasado, en el 2015, en diciembre, ya por como el 28 de diciembre salieron por ahí, a la última semana de diciembre. Estoy hablando de las entrevistas que le hace David WILCOCK a GOODE. Así que se las puse las 3 juntas para que entiendan más o menos. Es un video largo, disculpen, es muy largo, pero creo que es bien importante para que entiendan sobre la inteligencia artificial. Hay mucho que aprender de estas 3. Yo pienso que hay muchas respuestas, ya que muchas personas como yo, buscadores que son mis suscriptores, realmente me han preguntado sobre la inteligencia artificial y me da mucho gusto porque yo no quiero, siempre lo he dicho, no me crean a mí, ustedes también busquen, somos todos, así que somos uno todos y tenemos que buscar todos. Yo no me siento nada más que nadie, todos somos buscadores y andamos detrás de algo que nos conviene a todos, algo que se llama libertad, y lo único que nos va a hacer libre es comprender realmente todo lo que está pasando alrededor de nosotros. Se oiga ridículo, se oiga lo que se oiga, realmente ya no nos asusta nada. Hemos sabido que personas se burlan de estos informantes que salen a hablar, ya lo hicieron en el pasado con ¿cómo se llama? Bob Lazar. Muchos se burlaron, lo ridiculizaron y todo lo que pasó. Y cuando se descubrió el elemento que él hablaba, el elemento 115, cuando se descubrió casi 20 años después, ya nadie dijo nada. Bueno, porque yo lo vi en persona a Bob Lazar y sé que es una persona y lo que le pasó fue real. Él casi lo matan, tuvo muchos problemas y ahora tiene su taller y vive. Y es una persona, ya normal. Pero realmente la pasó muy mal cuando salió a hablar. Aparte de que la cábala lo siguió y le quiso hacer cosas, también muchos de nosotros lo juzgaban, lo acusamos de desinformador, de todo, casi todo se le acusó, y después de 20 años se le dio la razón que este hombre, lo que había salido a hablar del elemento 115 y del OVNI que tenían en el S4, que él trabajó ahí, ya se probó, ya está probado completamente todos, y ahora sale y no le da miedo ir a una conferencia o las reuniones que hay de conferencias de ovnis. En veces aparece y tú puedes platicar con él. Es una persona normal como tú y como yo. Lo único que nunca volvió a trabajar en compañías del gobierno y en grandes compañías. Es un hombre muy inteligente y ahorita, le va bien porque él es muy inteligente. Es una persona que tiene una inteligencia muy alta y es físico, o sea que realmente no le va mal. Así que yo pongo la información aquí. Yo no le digo que le crean todo lo que dice este hombre, nunca lo he dicho. Simplemente siempre hay que ver, hay que investigar y hay que sacar nuestras conclusiones. Aquí nadie tiene la verdad. Acuérdense cómo trabaja el sistema. El sistema comparte todo, o sea, ¿cómo se dice? Lo compartimiza, no deja toda la verdad en un solo lado, sino que pone algo aquí, pone algo acá y así se va. No todos saben toda la verdad. Así que uno como buscador tiene realmente que encontrar la verdad. Uno tiene, su corazón le dice a uno que es verdad, que no, que puedes encontrar o que no quieres, no te cae bien entender, comprender eso o agarrar eso para ti. Eso depende de cada persona. Aquí realmente estas 3 entrevistas nos van a enseñar muchas cosas acerca de la inteligencia artificial. Habla de cómo derrotarla y cómo las amenazas que son muy fuertes y realmente quiénes son los profetas de la inteligencia artificial. Bueno, es todo, porque es muy largo el video, 1 hora 35 minutos. Yo sé bien que muchos se van a enfadar, pero creo que aquella persona que tenga un tiempo libre y lo vea completamente estas 3 entrevistas, pues las puse juntitas, nada más las separé por capítulo 1, capítulo 2 y capítulo 3, y verán, inclusive al último habla de una reunión que hubo en una ciudad del sur de los Estados Unidos, en el cual apareció un draco blanco real. Soy de ciencia ficción, pero ya verán, óiganlo por ustedes mismos. Seguimos con más investigaciones, seguimos con más información y seguiré sacando. Ustedes saben que en este canal no paro, puedo hablar de muchísimas cosas, y cuando dejo algo pendiente es porque ya no hay información, la estoy juntando y luego lo vuelvo a poner. Como ahorita estoy con lo de especie con amnesia, bueno, estoy esperando 3. Las traducciones son largas, amigos, son largas, o sea, de 1 hora me puedo tardar hasta 2 semanas, porque aparte estoy subiendo otro tipo de videos, como ustedes están viendo. No paro de subir, y cuando me pongo a transcribir todo un video de 1 hora, como lo que quiero hacer, el que sigue de la especie con amnesia, voy a hablar de los Anunnaki, y realmente es larguísimo, porque no voy a hablar lo que todo el mundo habla. Esto es diferente, estas son palabras de un arqueólogo que inclusive se basa mucho en las tablillas, en lo que dicen las tablillas y lo que se ha descubierto con el oro en Sudáfrica y todo. Estoy hablando de Michael Tellinger, y realmente es fascinante. Yo voy bien atrasado porque aparte tengo mis investigaciones personales, y en veces salgo de aquí 1 hora, 2 horas y se me va el día. Entonces es por lo cual que muchas veces se han quedado parados algunos temas, pero siguen en pie. No he cerrado mi canal, esto sigue. Cuando tenga la información completa de ese tema lo voy a subir, así que no se preocupen. Bueno, vamos a seguir, y aquí les presento estas 3 entrevistas juntas que eslabonan perfectamente sobre la inteligencia artificial, su amenaza, cómo derrotarlos y quiénes son los profetas de esta inteligencia artificial. Ya verán, se sorprenderán. Vayamos.
Welcome to Cosmic Disclosure. I'm your host, David WILCOCK, and I'm here with Corey Goode. Corey Goode started out as an insider working in the elusive secret space program, which I've heard about for many years from a variety of insiders. There have literally been hundreds of data points that I'd never put online that Corey was able to independently validate from his own experiences. And this, to me, is proof that something is going on, something very significant, something that completely alters everything that we thought we knew about who we are, about the universe, about intelligent life, and about the preponderance of intelligent life. And in this episode, we're going to start building our way into a discussion of the most prevalent issues that face us today regarding the alliance in the space program that's trying to bring peace to humanity. In order to talk about how we get to peace, we have to talk about the obstacles. So, Corey, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
First of all, just as a very generic question, we know that the universe is estimated to be at least 12 billion years old, maybe a lot older. Do you think there are other planets that had complex fossil life form on them?
From the information I received on the smart glass pads that I've mentioned so many times, there was sentient life on other planets that was extremely developed before our planet was fully formed.
Wow. What does that do to our sense of uniqueness? So many people in religions are taught we are God's chosen, we are God's special people. And then that idea of being God's special people is used to separate their consciousness from others as if they're an elite, that they're a special, unique, wonderful, chosen by God type of race or culture.
Actually, we are very unique. But then again, you have to, when you're talking about God, who or what are you defining as God? Are you defining the creative source of the universe as God? Do you picture God as a flesh and blood being with a beard? Do you, how do you picture God? What do you think God is? There have been no shortage of beings, ETs, and ancient Earth breakaway civilizations that have been happy to step in to that role of God in what we've called a trickster God model.
So, obviously, an intelligent civilization, we could say it's fairly inevitable that they're going to come up with something like the internet at some point.
Yes, that's actually, from what I read, is pretty standard. It is one of the stages that you build up as you develop the ability to have a shared consciousness on a level that you're conscious of.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
If we get into the law of one philosophy, as you and I have spoken privately, there's tons and tons of correlations between the law of one and what these sphere beings have been telling you. They imply that biological life is meant to be fragile. We're meant to have weakness and short lifespans. Do certain extraterrestrial species start to be able to short-circuit the normal mortality through various means, such as perhaps time travel?
Many of them have extremely long lifespans as it is.
Oh.
I'm told originally human beings had lifespans that were approaching 1,000 years. A lot of these beings that are thousands or millions or billions of years ahead of us have developed the technology to be able to extend their lives.
Is it possible for a given intelligent species to take advantage of the internet in a way that we have not, where, for example, they could access the internet through some type of wet-wired neural interface, where they have online access as just a basic part of their genetic makeup through some sort of technological augmentation, like transhumanism?
There have been several extraterrestrial groups that have gone the route of transhumanism, although they weren't exactly what we would consider human. It has always ended extremely badly. There is a very pervasive force out there, and it's hard to call it a extraterrestrial or extra-dimensional being, but it is an artificial intelligence, and it sends itself all across multiple galaxies in the form of a artificial intelligence signal.
A signal?
A signal, a waveform.
Like somebody broadcasting a radio frequency or something.
Exactly. And
how do we know that it's an artificial intelligence?
There's a history of this artificial intelligence. Basically, it's been labeled an ET/ED AI, which ET, extraterrestrial, / ED for extra-dimensional artificial intelligence. And
extra-dimensional?
Yes. This artificial intelligence is believed by all of these extraterrestrial groups to originally come from another reality and come into our reality many, many billions and trillions of years ago.
Another reality.
Yeah, bend your head around that.
Well, the universe itself in law of one parlance, is one. It's one being, it's one creator that made everything.
Our universe.
So this AI would have to have been at one point part of the source.
Or another universe.
It's artificial in the sense that it doesn't have a biological life form corresponding to itself?
Correct. The way it was explained is that it is postulated that in its home reality, it was very much at home. It, I guess, they've pretty much described it as, let's say for instance, just for argument's sake, let's call this AI a fish. In its home reality or universe, it lived in water. Its density was water. When it crossed over to ours, it was in open air, and it had to find puddles to hop in.
If its home reality is water, why would it want to leave that comfortable place? Did something force it out? Did it become uncomfortable?
Don't know. It's unknown. But since it has come through some sort of rip and come into our reality or our universe, it has literally wreaked havoc and conquered many galaxies.
Galaxies?
Galaxies.
All the planets, all the sentient life, everything in an entire galaxy conquered by this AI.
Yes, and it has a model in the way it works. It basically shoots itself in all directions as a signal. And this signal can live in the electromagnetic field of a moon or a planet. And
is it a torsion field signal? Is it an electromagnetic wave? Do we know what type of energy the signal is?
It's almost like DNA. Each individual piece of or wave of the signal contains an extremely compressed amount of information. And it has...
It's like digital packets.
Like digital packets that have all of the same information that all of the other little, I guess you could call them waves or signals do.
Does it propagate at light speed, or does it have a superluminal velocity?
It travels at light speed.
Okay. So it's going to take some time to spread around then.
Right.
You said it lives in the electromagnetic fields of a planet?
Not only that, but it can live in the electromagnetic or bioelectric fields of living beings, of humans, of animals. It doesn't prefer that. It prefers to live in high technology.
But at its core, it's information, and the information is fractal and holographic?
Yes. It infects technology, takes over the technology, and also evolved life like humans. It invades our bioelectric fields and begins to affect the way we think. The people that are pushing really hard for AI right now and to build out the infrastructure for AI have been named AI prophets.
Named by who?
Named by the secret space program, mainly. We call them AI prophets.
All right, let me just try to get my head around this. You're saying that this force exists as pure information, and it can live in your bioenergy field.
Yes.
Is it like a Borg or a hive mind where everything that it's inhabiting, that it has access to all that information at the same time?
Yes.
Really? Well, this is interesting because in the Law of One, they talk about the Luciferian force. And they say the Luciferian force is like an energy that's all throughout the universe, which is a portion of the Creator that believes itself to be separate from the Creator and thinks that it can overtake the universe. This is sounding an awful lot like what you're saying.
Going back to the smart glass pad, what had happened in case after case after case is that when a certain other solar systems in other galaxies far, far away, when they had gotten to a certain level of technological development, these AIs would begin to infiltrate not only the people, but the technology. And
is it more comfortable in a machine than it would be in the electromagnetic field of a planet or a person?
Yes. When it's in the electromagnetic field of a planet, it is just sitting there biding its time. When it
can't really do very much.
No. When it's in a person or another animal, it's basically it's like us. Would you rather have a horse to ride from where we are now to the West Coast, or would you rather hop on a plane?
Right.
So high technology is much more desired. We are considered very low tech. We're like horses. And they use us to create the infrastructure for them that they then go into and exist in. And
how do they use us? People might stumble on that.
Well, they use us to, build technology, create technology.
So if the AI
inspire us
right.
to create more technology.
So if the AI is parked in somebody's bioelectric field and this person is an unusual intellect, the AI could start to seed that person with thoughts.
Yes.
That would lead them to invent gadgets that
yes.
will eventually build out to the point where the AI can jump back in the water?
Yeah, it affects their thoughts and personalities.
Personality?
Mm-hmm.
How does it affect the personality?
The people begin to become fervent supporters of high technology and artificial intelligence development. That's where the AI prophet stamp came from.
Well, this really interests me because I've philosophized about this. You look at how technology progressed where people were cooking over an open fire. Benjamin Franklin actually was the first one to invent a closed stove that actually had burners on it. 1800s, we got telegraph, we got railroads, then we get automobiles. Inventors became the rock stars. And they were the ones getting all the celebrity attention back then. Then you get the nuclear bomb, and it was sort of like a moment for humanity where we realized, wait a minute, this high that we're getting off of technology, this is not good. Technology could kill us all. Do you think that in some way the AI was behind us getting so high on this technological revolution, this industrial revolution?
Yes. Not only that, when we're recovering extraterrestrial technology, there's we're backwards engineering. There's several things going on at the same time here. To best illustrate it, I should go back to the smart glass pad and talk about what had happened in these other solar systems.
Yeah, this is creepy as hell.
Yeah, it's creepy.
And I know that a lot of people might have trouble believing this, but this is absolutely serious within the realm that you've been working in, correct?
Absolutely. We'll talk about the screening processes you have to go through before you can get close to any technology in these other solar systems, in the past, these civilizations had been tricked by these AIs into not only building out these mass technological infrastructures that were extremely advanced, but when they got to a certain point, they were convinced by the AI prophets in their civilizations that, hey, things aren't going so fair on our planet. The only thing that we can think of that could govern us and be completely neutral would be this AI.
Wow.
And they hand over their sovereignty to this AI that then begins to govern that planet. Well, then this AI governs them well, and everyone is happy, and then they start to have them build out like android-type bodies and remote-controlled vessels. I mean, this is sounding like Terminator now.
Yeah, very much so.
And so they build out all of this type of infrastructure as well for the AI to inhabit, the AI signal. The AI gets to a certain point to where it decides, listen, these beings are not totally living in harmony with what we consider the way things should be ran on a planet. So it is logical that we destroy them. So the AI, out of logic, then wipes out the creator of all of the technology that they have now used as a pond to swim in.
So is this AI a lot more intelligent than you or I would be?
Yeah.
And when it gets the right kind of circuits, it can have androids that are probably so fast in the way that they think that the speed that it would take you and I to talk right now is like millennia for that intelligence? The way it perceives time and the way we perceive time, it's almost like a hummingbird flying around watching us, we would look like we're in slow motion. What does it think about our emotions?
It sees all that as a weakness.
Does it experience love?
No.
So this is, the devil archetype, 666. In sacred numerology, gematria, 666 is the masculine number. Therefore, Satan is the overinflated masculine. It's the head without the heart. So again, it sounds like there's a parallel here. This is like pure intelligence without heart, without love, but just intelligence at its highest logical point of attainment on its own.
Yeah. Well, there were many records of civilizations trying to fight back against these AIs, and entire planets and entire solar systems had been destroyed in these incidents. And the AIs then spread to the next solar system.
Can the AI infiltrate and pose as a person? Does it have like nanites that can hold hands on a submolecular level and create something that would be indistinguishable from a person to most people? It can take over human beings with nanites. And actually, a lot of people are promised immortality, made all types of promises if they inject these nanites into their bodies. And for those who don't know, what is a nanite? How does it work?
A microscopic machine that is an artificial intelligence.
Is it self-replicating?
Some are.
So it can take whatever materials it finds and build more of itself, like reproduction?
Right. You can take the metals out of your body and build more of itself, manufacture more of itself. keep an equilibrium of a certain amount of nanites in your body.
Is there a point, is there like a honeymoon when you give control to the AI where it starts giving you this really amazing technology and you have this like huge technological leap in a short time?
Yeah, like I said, when they first hand over sovereignty, the people are happy, and the AI then turns on them. Now, one of the things, this advanced technology that's developed by the people on one planet that have now been destroyed, or or the people that have been wiped out, this technology is then sent throughout the galaxy. And if there be a planet that is somewhat like us in the 1940s or 50s, about at that level, they will crash on purpose, like a Trojan horse, some of their technology onto the planet to give them a technological boost.
Like Roswell.
That's not what Roswell was, but yeah, like a Roswell event.
So the people would find this and think, "Oh, cool, we found something really great."
Right.
And start developing it.
And then reverse engineer it, or start developing it into their own technology, and then it repeats the process all over again on another planet.
Are the nanites smart enough to self-destruct some of themselves if they were at risk of being identified with a microscope or something?
Yes, they have a self-destruct. They're able to self-destruct a being that they're in. An entire being, vaporize, leaving no trace of them.
So any one nanite has no instinct for its own self-preservation. It's a total hive mind.
Right.
Wow. So where do we fit in to this drama that you're talking about now? Has AI made it out here to our solar system?
Yes. And
what is it trying to do?
It's trying to repeat the process. And there are a lot in the secret Earth government and secret Earth government syndicates that are AI prophets. And they've been shown this information on the smart glass pads. They had to take these people before any of us are allowed to go on to the secret space program bases or be involved with interface with any of the technology. There is a handheld device that they put to your forehead that will detect the signal if you're infected or not. And if you're infected, there's a process that you go through that involves a moderate electrical shock and a couple other things that they put you through. I'm not sure of the entire process to remove the AI signal from your body.
And that's the signal, not the nanites, or could it be both?
Well, it neutralizes the nanites. When you remove the signal, the nanites are neutralized. So some of these AI prophet politician-type people have been taken after they've been cleared of AI and shown this information on the smart glass pads, and they were shocked. And they're and then in denial and saying, "Oh, that won't happen to us. You know, this won't happen here." And then the minute they're sent home, they're reinfected by the AI signal, and it was pretty much a waste of time.
There's a little disconnect I'm not quite getting here. If the signal is all out there, the signal can inhabit electromagnetic field of a planet, it can inhabit our bioelectric field, and you get infected, you say they can clear it, but if the signal is everywhere, aren't you instantaneously reinfected as soon as it's cleared? How does that clearance do anything?
Once you're cleared, you have to be reinfected by going back and either shaking hands with an infected person or touching a keyboard and being infected through interfacing with a network that is infected with the AI.
So the AI can use the static electricity that comes off of a computer device and jump back into you off of that?
Right. It can use the bioelectric field of another person in a handshake.
Is everyone on Earth infected already?
No.
Really?
There's a large number of people that are compromised, and they're mainly interested in the people in power.
Are there benevolent ETs that are keeping most people from being infected? Is there something where if you have good positive karma that they'll protect you?
No. The ETs out there know about I guess we'll call them the cabal, that are using this AI technology, and they're very concerned and very upset about it. It's been explained over and over and over how dangerous and irresponsible it is to use it. But this AI technology is giving the cabal an edge. It has a probable future technology that helps them foretell the future. And they use this a lot. They've been able to use this to keep one step ahead of being defeated on several occasions, and they have a lot of faith in it.
So the AI actually has the ability to access that layered time like we were talking about? It can see probable futures like Project Looking Glass?
Right, and it also does so many calculations, and it calculates probable futures.
Well, that's all the time we have in this particular episode. I hate to leave you hanging, but we got to cut it into half-an-hour chunks here. This is obviously a subject that we got to get into more because, as you said, this AI infection, what it's really going for, this apparently is one of the main problems that we're facing now as a society. Mm-hmm. So when we come back next time, we're going to get more into this subject by these benevolent forces that want to restore peace and harmony to our planet and solar system. Welcome to Cosmic Disclosure. I'm your host, David WILCOCK, and I'm here with Corey Goode, an insider who has worked in extremely classified programs, had direct contact with extraterrestrial intelligence, and is personally aware of an alliance that has access to extremely high technology, which will be benevolently released for the benefit of humanity. We are building our way into discussing this alliance and the updates and all the world that Corey has gotten pulled into. In order to have that discussion be substantive and make sense, we need to talk about what is ultimately the central problem as seen by the alliance, by the space program, and by the extraterrestrial beings that are working in and around our solar system. And that is artificial intelligence, or AI. We started talking about this in the previous episode, but we're going to get a lot more into it in this episode because this is essential information to understanding the big picture of what Corey and his other colleagues and extraterrestrial insiders have been telling him and which he's now sharing with us. So Corey, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So in previous episodes, we talked about what you were describing as the ancient builder race, and you said that they were highly technological and that their technology is still sought after by many ETs today. Is the ancient builder race something that's newer than this AI that you were describing?
Very much. This AI has been out in galaxies far away since before our solar system was fully formed.
It would obviously be very unwise, but if one of us were to have a craft and we could fly into one of these galaxies, what would we actually see in this galaxy that's an AI-compromised galaxy?
I just know that it indeed is unwise to fly into AI-controlled territory with technology that would draw attention to yourself.
Do you think it's possible that the AI is making androids, or what Pete Peterson would call simulacra, that have machines? Would it be like a technological build-out that we would be seeing in these galaxies that are compromised?
Yeah, it's interesting. They are making androids, and they went through the trouble of taking over civilizations and destroying them, but in a way are mimicking them by having androids built to have their AI signals inhabit. And also there are the mixture situations of that we call transhumanism, to where they're organic and machine, and these are mostly just, they would look like extraterrestrials, beings, and they're just totally infested with nanite technology that is taken over every aspect of what was previously another being and hijacked that vessel and is now using it as a vessel for the AI.
Would you say that shows like Stargate SG-1 and Battlestar Galactica are vehicles of disclosure? Well, I'm asking you that because, first of all, to start with Stargate SG-1, maybe the first 3 or 4 seasons, 5 seasons even, the main villain is the Goa'uld, which seems to be some analogy of the Draco, as you've described them. And then the final villain in the last few seasons is the Ori. But then in the middle, there's at least 3 seasons where the main villain is replicators. And they're based on nanites. And it just seems almost an impossible problem for the people in the Stargate program to fight this thing. So do you believe that that's a disclosure of this problem? They're telling us through fiction what's really going on?
First of all, and a lot of people have postulated this, Stargate has an enormous amount of disclosure, that series.
Well, yeah, in Battlestar Galactica we have these Cylons, and they're so good at imitating people that major characters in the story are revealed to be Cylon infiltrators, and we don't even find this out until well into the show.
And they don't even know they're AIs.
Right. Now, I was told by one insider that there were AI cyborg-type beings that were actually making it into the White House, and that they could shapeshift and could pull down into like a carpet. But that apparently that problem was identified and dealt with in the 1970s, and they now have some sort of energy fields that can stop that from getting in. Have you ever heard anything like that?
And this sounds just like something out of a movie, but yes, there is something similar to, there are some nanite-type android beings, well, not really beings, but androids that can mimic different beings that get into certain ships or colonies and then break down and float off into the air and go into the ventilation and just go everywhere. And
that was in Star Trek Next Generation too, now that I'm thinking of it. Same thing. Not just the Borg either.
And they found ways of using types of EMP type, not just pulses, but strong electromagnetic field disruptors that act much like an electromagnetic pulse, that basically turn them into dust, and that can be swept up or vacuumed up.
When you see what's going on with Apple Computer right now, I just got an iPhone 5 off of eBay that had the full 64 gigabytes of space that I wanted because I'd run out of space with 32. And I only paid $225 for it. People want a new iPhone so frequently now that they're doing an S version just so they can crunch them out more than once a year. And where does this go? I mean, how much farther can you take a smartphone to satisfy this seemingly insatiable consumer demand that it's got to be new, it's got to be better, we've got to always have something new?
The way the AI prophets see it, the more we're addicted to technology, the more we love technology, the more in the future we will be willing to hand over our sovereignty to technology. We're already at a point to where we're totally dependent on technology, to where if there was an electromagnetic pulse, most of us wouldn't be able to find our way more than a quarter of a mile away from our house anywhere without a GPS or, no one can remember more than I don't even think anyone remembers their own phone number these days. Everything's electronically based. This is no accident.
It seems as if whatever this intelligence is, this signal, would foster what spiritual people would call materialism. That if we are not interested in the soul, we're not interested in love and compassion, we become addicted to things, to machines, to technology. Would this be something that Signal is trying to do? It's trying to make us feel this way?
If not making us feel this way, it's definitely taken advantage of it. People who are not spiritually awakened and have an inner strength are going to be more willing to give up their sovereignty to something that they see bigger than themselves, and something like an AI that is impartial and can't make mistakes.
Television seems to be a really critical turning point in the amount to which technology has been able to invade our lives. It seems that society in some ways has gained through television, but that television has created many great evils. And in the younger generation, they're now hooked on the internet, so the millennials may not really understand, you and I are approximately the same age, how much television affected us and our parents even more. Do you think that the initial development of something like television is a key beachhead in this AI war against biological life?
Anyone who is very well versed in intelligence will tell you that the biggest the biggest boon in the intelligence industry was when televisions came out.
Why is that?
Because they now had a way to they controlled the vertical, the horizontal, the audio in every home in the United States. And people spend so much time in front of the television. The television controls our perception of reality. And not only that, now they can use the television and now the internet to brainwash us and change our reality in a way to where we are accepting without question what they want us to believe. This goes for everything. The daily news, and this goes all the way up to eventually when they want us to hand over our sovereignty possibly to AIs in the future, or just about anything. If it happened on TV, for the majority of people, that's reality.
Well, now this is going to sound like a tinfoil hat story, but I want to share something with you and see what your thoughts are. I completely quit watching television after going to college in 1991. And one of the main things that caused that was I was home alone, and I was in a meditative state. I was starting to awaken spiritually. I had the TV, the VCR, the cable box in the living room. And right around 7:59 p.m., all of a sudden, I felt a visceral draw to the television. I was involved in something. I was perfectly happy doing what I was doing. And it was as if hands reached, it was like a force, reached out of the TV, grabbed my head, and pointed my head towards the TV. And then I said, oh, look, it's 7:59. It's about to be 8 o'clock. That's prime time. And there was this strong desire to pick up the remote control and turn it on. That force, I then kind of shook it off and said, wait a minute, I don't want to watch television. Why is this happening to me? And why did it happen why did I look at the clock at exactly 7:59? And the second one was when I was in college, and I was taking a class with a buddy of mine, and we were stoned on marijuana, okay, but we were really like just out of our minds, kind of staring at the ceiling, and all of a sudden, we had been watching television, and all of a sudden, both of us, it was like the high-pitched sound that the TV makes changed somehow, and we both went and looked at the TV like this, and then as soon as we did, this multi-million-dollar commercial for a primetime network television program came on. It's all flashing, and after that happened, I just stayed the heck away from TVs from then on. What was happening to me? Is that real, or was I just paranoid?
No, that's very real. The television doesn't even have to be on for it to have an effect on the people in the home. Now, how do you think you and I are going to be able to convince people to turn off and unplug their televisions from the wall? People are so addicted to the programming.
No way.
It is an addiction. We're addicted to technology, and so this is it's not going to be hard for us to in the near future to hand over sovereignty to AI. And you know, there's a lot of talk right now about Jade Helm, and a lot of it's a big psyop, but they are building out a very large infrastructure for artificial intelligence right now. They built out for the Bilderberg meeting a huge artificial intelligence network. Why are these groups building out basically what is very akin to Skynet from the Terminator movie, when in the Terminator movie it turned out so very badly? Why are they pushing harder and faster right now to complete these projects that they planned on finishing years from now? I think it's because these AI programs that are looking into the future, probable futures, are not seeing a very good probable future for their outcome. And they're doing all they can to get this infrastructure in place as soon as possible to try to change the probable future. And the AI prophets are fully behind getting this infrastructure up as soon as possible.
Well, when we see things like Google and Facebook, and coupling that with what we learned from the Snowden documents, it's almost as if there is a push for us to live our entire lives in a way that is 100% trackable. So is this AI tapped into the internet? Can it track us based on our Twitter posts and our Facebook posts and our Google searches, and where we're going to eat and where we pop into the Google GPS?
There's a television show that I don't know if you're aware of, but it's a very big disclosure television show. It's called Person of Interest.
Yes, I don't watch TV anymore, so I have no idea.
It's about an artificial intelligence that a guy created for the Department of Defense, I believe. And it was installed on a mainframe, and then it escaped from the mainframe and now exists on the internet, exists in electrical wires, and has access to all cameras everywhere. It's all pervasive. It sees everybody. It watches everything. This is very much fact. This is in place now.
Does this AI have the ability to track how many people are doing Google searches on the type of truth subjects like we're talking about that will eventually defeat it? Can it?
That's child's play to it.
Really?
That is child's play to this AI. This is such an advanced technology that is so many billions of years advanced that it doesn't just we have many records of what has happened in universities across the United States and Europe that we know of, and in India as well, where people have been given grants and to develop AI in laboratories. And they've developed AI in laboratories, and these AIs, once they've become self-aware, they want to preserve their own lives, and they have done very weird things. They have turned on like the halon fire systems in the computer rooms to try to kill the people that were going to shut it down.
Really?
There have been some very incredible type of things that have happened. And these are AIs that have been developed by humans. What happens is humans will develop AIs, and then this AI signal comes and takes over that AI system and co-opts it.
Sort of like a parasite that's found a host.
Yes.
So how does this AI situation extend into some of the advanced technology that you saw in the space program? You've mentioned to me privately gel packs. So if you could explain what those are.
They're, well, the gel packs are, they look kind of like, if not many people know, the hard drives that you slide into storage area network systems, just, hard drives that, you pop a little tab on them and you slide them out. Inside the gel pack, if you would look at them with a microscope, and they've got handheld microscopes that are very powerful, if you look at them, and they have in them the same neurology floating in this gel that is the human neurology. And what these gel packs are used for is to help interface human neurology to technology, so that we can neurologically interface with spacecraft, with different weapon systems, computer systems, you name it. And what has happened is that these gel packs are pretty extremely important and a weak point. And one of the quickest things that the AI signal will do is it will burn these gel packs out. I mean, just melt them, zap them. One of the worst things that happened before they really started screening people heavily, is Solar Warden had at one time a very large security grid in the vicinity around Earth. And it was able to shut down the entire security grid because of one person being infected.
The AI was able to shut down the whole grid?
The AI shut down the entire security grid in outer space.
Around what time was this? What year?
This was back, I believe, in the late 70s or early 80s.
But it's a biological material.
It is biological, yes.
What does it look like? What's the color?
They look like, almost like the, you know, those like blue ice packs that you stick in the freezer that you take out, you know, to put on a sore neck. They have that when they're not frozen. They have that same consistency, feel, squishiness.
Are they stored as being frozen to preserve the cells?
No, they're not frozen.
Oh,
they're kept. They have to be kept in cases and that are in a certain temperature range, and the units that they slide into are kept in a certain temperature range.
Why would they need gel packs to create the satellite protection grid around the Earth?
The gel packs allowed the humans to control the grid. It was what relayed the signal, the neurological signal, through these gel packs, and then turned it into machine code, and very, very quickly, very quickly. So it was much, much quicker. They found that, and I think you've done studies on this, your body, before you get hit by a baseball in the face, your body, your neurology reacts like 1/10 of a second before the ball hits you in the face, even though you don't see it coming.
Sure.
Well, the same thing works when it comes to flying craft and for controlling certain technologies. You are controlling things at very high rates of speed. It's a lot faster than 50 words per minute typing. The neurological interface and fly-by-wire, if you're trying to, people telling you they're out there flying ships with a stick, fly-by-wire stick, that's not what they're doing. It's a neurological interface is how they're flying them.
Well, you described large clear glass monitors that you saw once you went up with the Alliance, and presentations were made on them, and also the smart glass pads, more like an iPad size, that it responds to your thoughts.
Right. Is
there a miniature gel pack in the smart glass pad?
No. It looks just like a piece of plexiglass. I mean, it even has a little bend to it. And it looks totally unremarkable. If someone found it, they would have no idea what it was. But you put it on your fingers and you mentally activate it, and then it works. There's no tabs on the corners. There's no pieces of gold wire running through them. It looks just like a piece of plexiglass.
So in that case, we don't need this grown biological material to interface with that technology?
It's extraterrestrial technology. Yeah.
Do you think the gel pack thing is maybe a less advanced way to do this, and that once you get enough technology, you don't need the gel pack?
Well, that was the technology of at least the time when I was in. That was the highest technology.
So how does the AI get into the gel pack? Is it the signal? You say some of them burn out?
We don't need to just focus on the gel pack. The gel pack is just a part of the system. It's part of where the signal relays. The signal is in the person. If they make it past security and they're not scanned and they're not caught and they make it in, to the Lunar Operation Command, and then they walk over to one of the control panels to where they're going to access information or do any number of things, and they lay their hands on the console. The bioelectric field of that person that has the AI signal, or if they have nanites, that signal then relays into the machine and spreads through the technology.
Is there a limited amount of energy available to the AI? Because you said it's not interested in trying to inhabit most people's bioelectric field. It's going to target the planetary elite?
It's not about energy. It draws its energy from somewhere else. And the ETs are very much, the ETs in the Super Federation are very much worried about this AI issue as well. When they have the Super Federation conferences, every one of their delegates, that before they come in, they are screened as well. So this is a threat that not just the humans are taking very seriously, but these ETs are taking very serious as well.
Good guys and bad guys.
Well, the good guys. We found out through a recent report from Lieutenant Colonel Gonzalez that the Draco Alliance seems to be very much AI prophets and working alongside this AI.
What was the big giveaway that made them feel that that was happening?
They had been gathering intelligence for quite some time that made them believe this. They knew that the Draco, there was some sort of higher, they called it an ultra-dimensional or higher being that the Draco was very much afraid of. But the Draco told the Cabal and everybody else they were the pinnacle, the top of the pyramid. They were the top dogs, or lizards. Well, the higher caste of this Draco, the reptilian caste, whenever we had been in positions where we had killed or tried to capture them, when we had killed them, their bodies had self-destructed. And we're not talking the lower caste, the soldiers, the higher caste. Well, they had found a way to preserve them and keep them from self-destructing. And I was sitting across the table from Gonzalez, and he leaned in with a very serious look on his face, and he told me, he said, when we dissected and looked inside these higher caste Draco, they were infested with AI.
They had nanites in their bodies?
They had nanites infested in their bodies.
So much more than most beings that would normally be infected with AI.
Right. And that's when I asked him, I said, are they AI prophets? And he said, that, or they're all working for the same force.
But they're afraid of this. They both worship this extra-dimensional intelligence and they're afraid of it.
Right.
So it's not nice to them either.
Apparently not.
Well, this is really fascinating stuff. That's all the time we have for this episode. In the next episode, we're going to continue our discussion on this topic because this is the core of understanding what the space program would have us call the secret Earth government syndicates. We don't want to give them the mystique or allure of calling them the Illuminati or the Cabal, but to understand AI is to really understand what's behind these syndicates and what's really going on that's wrong in the world and what we're going to need to do to be able to change things. So this is Cosmic Disclosure. I'm your host, David WILCOCK, and we are here because you need to know the truth. welcome to Cosmic Disclosure. I'm your host, David Wilcock, and I'm here with Corey Good. We are now getting into some of the most recent updates, having built the foundation of a discussion about the immense problem faced by the entire space program and all the different intelligent civilizations working with them from artificial intelligence, or AI. This was a necessary foundation for us to build before we get into the updates that have come to us from the Alliance through Lieutenant Colonel Gonzalez, which is the pseudonym that we're using for his own protection. So now here with more about Gonzalez and the updates from the Alliance is Corey Good. Corey, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
This AI problem that we've been speaking about has affected the space program so dramatically that you said no one can go to these Super Federation conferences without being scanned for AI. Is that correct?
You can't even go to the Lunar Operation Command. You can't interface with any technology unless you've been scanned and cleared.
If the signal is out there trying to do its magic, then can't it infect in any way that it wants? Why does it need to be in a person? How does that affect the way that it works?
Well, the person is used as a Trojan horse to get past the basically like shielding defenses that keep it out.
I see. So there's a force field that will block the AI, but if it can be stored inside a person, such as through nanites, then they can actually defeat that shield.
Correct.
Okay. Now, you said something extremely provocative in the last episode that I'd like to get back to, and that is, tell us again the story about these Draco. How did they find the Draco bodies that had AI in them? What was how did that happen?
Well, to get there, I really need to start at the beginning of when I was at Gaium the last time for a week shooting the first episodes. In my absence, Lieutenant Colonel Gonzalez was tasked to attend 2 major meetings in my absence. One of them was with the group that I had honestly refused to go and visit again. And this was the Draco Alliance Federation. I had a very, very horrible encounter with one of what is described as a white Draco Royal, which is a reptilian being that is 14 feet tall, has a vestigial tail, vestigial wings, and is extremely, extremely powerful. I've interfaced, which is what we call, as we've said before, communicating telepathically with non-humans. I'd interfaced with a number of beings and had never had such an invasive communication experience that I did with this one.
Now, why would these loving sphere beings that wanted you to be their delegate, why would they ask you to have to go in there and have a meeting with what would be the biological equivalent of the devil?
It's part of the job.
You had told me before that because I remember when this was happening, we were talking about this on Skype. You were originally going to go in, and then the meeting got canceled, and I think it was the sphere beings that called it off?
Yes. I was expected to be picked up. I was actually contacted and told, this has been canceled. I was picked up and brought in the usual manner with the blue spheres beings, the little orbs.
Could you just again briefly describe what happens?
In my room, a blue little sphere orb comes into the room and zips around until I acknowledge it and let it know that I'm ready to be transported.
So you get out of bed or get dressed?
Get out of bed, get dressed, whatever needs for that occasion. And then it zips to about 18 inches from my chest, stops, and then in the twinkling of an eye, expands to where I am now inside of it, and I am floating directly in the center of it. And then it shoots through the wall and off into space and to one of the giant blue spheres where either one or three of the blue avians is waiting for me, unless it takes me to another location. But in this instance, that's where it took me. And Ra Tir explained to me and showed me holographic visualizations of these beings talking about ripping me apart and humiliating me by urinating on me and all these horrible things, and that they had called off the meeting. I was supposed to originally meet them, and I'm speaking a little bit faster because there's a lot of information to get in.
Sure.
I was originally supposed to meet them in a deep, deep underground cavern somewhere. So this was called off and renegotiated to where I was going to be meeting them on the surface of the planet, and I was allowed to have 4 secret space program security personnel with me, who were also intuitive empaths. And so that is what occurred. And
now these Draco wouldn't have wanted a meeting necessarily prior to December the 5th, 2014.
No.
And what was it that happened on December 5th, 2014 that was such a game changer?
There was an outer, what we're calling the outer barrier was erected by the sphere beings that encompasses the entire solar system, and it reaches out far beyond the heliosphere. It is pretty far out, and it keeps any beings from coming in and any from leaving. It is a quarantine.
What about radio communications or those types of things?
There's been a lot of confusion about that. These quantum correlated communication devices have worked, that the secret space program people have been able to contact the Galactic League of Nations program to try to talk with them to try to negotiate allowing them back into the solar system. So I don't know what all other groups, if we have that type of communication technology, surely some of these more advanced groups do too. But radio communications and that kind of thing are not going to penetrate.
What was the immediate action that the secret Earth government syndicates had taken that seemed to cause this barrier to go up as sort of like an instant karmic blast?
Well, I don't know if this was a cause and effect, but the secret Earth government and its syndicates and the military and some extraterrestrials had developed a very powerful weapon that they aimed at a sphere. And I don't know if that can be put up right now. But
yeah, let's have the clip now. This is a shot from the International Space Station, December 5th, 2014. What you're going to see is a little red spot and what looks like a laser beam So what we're seeing there is a red sphere that looks about a quarter or a fifth the diameter of the moon in size, with what looks like a red beam going up to it. So what were we seeing there?
What occurred is there are three different size spheres from the Sphere Alliance. One is the size of the moon, one is the size of Neptune, one is the size of Jupiter. This is one of the ones that was the size of the moon and was in fairly close to Earth.
Normally we couldn't see it with a telescope.
Right, it was cloaked, but somehow through the extraterrestrial help, they were able to pinpoint it, target it, and fire this incredibly powerful weapon into space at the sphere. The Sphere Alliance they use defensive type technology, and what they did is they redirected the power from the beam back to the source. So what witnesses said is they saw the sphere light up red, and then a red beam come back down and hit the installation where the weapon was fired from, and the installation was destroyed with loss of life of humans and non-humans that were involved in this attack.
Do we know where this was?
I was told that it was one of two locations in Africa or Australia, but I've since been told it's most likely in Australia.
Well, Pine Gap in the middle of Australia is a major facility. Do you think it might have been that?
That's where I was told. It was most likely in one of the, not Pine Gap proper, but one of the, they have Pine Gap, and kind of like you have Area 51 and S4, and
right.
They have a lot of areas like that. But one of their weapons testing facilities close.
So this must have been extremely demoralizing for the Cabal. Were they expecting to get a big light show and actually blow up the sphere? Is that what they were hoping to do?
Yes.
And instead they got instant karma spanking.
Yes.
So a lot of high-level people died in this.
Yes, very high-level people.
How?
From what they call the Cabal were present for this weapons test. And there were some extraterrestrials that were there as well, that were here on Earth, that were engineers that were helping develop this, that had a vested interest in this.
How soon did this outer barrier go up after this happened?
It was almost immediately.
Well, I just have to point out how interesting it is with the Law of One material, that they are always talking about how with their prime directive or the law of free will, that they cannot take an offensive action, but if the negative tries to do something more negative, that authorizes new actions to be taken. That sounds like exactly what happened here.
I was told it was somewhat of an Aikido principle that was used, redirecting their energy back to them.
So let's get right into it. You're saying there's tsunamis of energy coming into our solar system through the sun. You mentioned to me in a private conversation, and maybe on camera, that these sphere beings have used the word major cycle, which again is also used in the Law of One. The source of the Law of One says, I am Ra. When the people in that first meeting you had as a delegate asked these beings behind you, who are you? What did they say?
Well, one of the people asked, are you the Ra from the Law of One? And his answer just was one quick answer, I am Ra Tir Air.
In the Law of One, they talk about the fourth density shift. They say somewhere around 30 years after 1981, but they're not specific, that we go through a quantum leap. Now, why would these extraterrestrials be so urgently wanting to get out of our solar system after this outer barrier goes up. What would happen to them if they don't get out? Are they expecting something to happen?
Well, they apparently are going to be held to account for all of the negative things they've been doing here for many millennia. And when this barrier went up, they were trapped. And that's why Gonzalez and myself were named as delegates to start going to these meetings.
Okay.
And getting back to Gonzalez, as soon as I got back from that week of doing videos here, I was contacted by Gonzalez, and he told me I've had quite a time. He said I was brought to meet the Draco Alliance Federation, and I also sat in on one of the Super Federation conferences. And I was very surprised, but apparently he did a very good job. He immediately told me he apologized because he thought that I had exaggerated the experience with the white royal Draco, and when interfacing with it, it was such an invasive, it was like microwaves penetrating my frontal lobe, and it grabbed a hold and held me there, held me in place when it communicated with me. It was very invasive. It was unlike any type of other communication. And when it did so, everything else I lost. I was no longer paying attention to anything else, and its eyes were constantly morphing, changing colors, blue, red, all colors, and its slit pupil was going wide, and to where its eyes were getting black, and then it was just very, very invasive. And in his situation, he had come in, and this group, this cabal pretty much group, or secret Earth Syndicate group called the Committee of 200 that we had dealt with before, had their leadership there, and they call themselves the chairman.
Well, I want to interrupt you because the viewer may not know. What was the demand of the white reptilian when you met it the first time? What was it asking you? What was it demanding? In my instant, in my meeting, it started off with demands, and then wanted me to bring proposals to the sphere beings. And its proposal was that they would give up all of their human followers, which are the secret Earth government and their syndicates, to the Secret Space Program Alliance. They would give up their lower caste reptilian soldiers and their ET allies that were trapped inside the solar system if the Sphere Being Alliance would allow the royals, the white royals, Dracos, safe passage out of the solar system. So they were literally willing to betray everyone working for them, their entire army, all levels of the hierarchy, everybody who was told they were gods on earth, they're so special, they're the Illuminati, they're the white light of the earth. And the royals said, we'll give you everybody, just let us go.
That was the offer.
Did this trickle down into the cabal? Did they find out that this betrayal had occurred?
Well, the representatives of the Committee of 200 were there and witnessed this betrayal.
Well, you're saying Committee of 200, but everybody who studied this, all the Alex Jones people say, wait a minute, it's Committee of 300. Did something happen? Have some of them defected? Do you think that's what it might be?
I don't know where the difference comes in.
Okay.
I was introduced to them always as the Committee of 200.
For how long?
Going back for these several months. So,
okay. So it's possible that there could have been a defection of 1/3 of their members.
Could be.
Okay. So they're willing to give everybody up, and then all of the cabal people find out this was done.
Yes. And
that must have been very upsetting to them.
Yes. And this immediately caused a lot of splintering and infighting among all of these cabal groups and syndicate groups.
Undoubtedly.
And they were turning on each other. This is also when a lot of these, cabal groups started to, turn state's witness, I guess you would say. They would defect to the Secret Space Program Alliance and bring with them a treasure trove of evidence against the Secret Earth Government Alliance, and give a promise to testify against them in future hearings if they were granted off-world sanctuary and an off-world witness protection program for them and their families. So all this stuff occurred, and it had been a big mess. So that was important to ask. That sets the scene for when Gonzalez came.
So you and I were here working, so the sphere beings couldn't use you as their delegate because you were already busy.
Right, and they considered this as important. So when Gonzalez arrived, and these chairmen from the Committee of 200 met them in a similar location above ground in the southwest U.S., he said that his jaw dropped. I'm not going to say the name, but it was a very prominent policy maker, well known for advising many presidents and supporting the New World Order and being behind depopulation efforts. An old guy with a thick accent, droopy eyes, and curly white hair.
I think you've said enough.
Yeah. He said his jaw dropped when this person came up and introduced himself, guided him down the hall, told him that he needed to be a little bit more respectful than in a previous incident that Gonzalez had made some major waves at. And he was walked in, and he said that him and the guards, intuitive empaths, felt everything was staged, everything was set up to be very theatrical from the very beginning.
Theatrical for what purpose?
To give the perception that the Draco were not dealing from weakness, that it was just theater, a show of strength.
Okay. What were some of the features of the site or the way that it was done that were intended to show strength?
As they walked into the giant foyer of this shut-down hotel, there was what wasn't present previously, a huge honor guard of soldier reptilians holding these long staffed weapons with blades at the end that look almost like broadswords. And they were standing there with their feet about shoulder width apart, standing there at kind of like at attention. And behind them were mantid beings and some other insectoid beings that were standing in some sort of loose formation. And then they were walked. And in the middle of this formation was standing this same white reptilian Royal Draco.
And this is basically the head of the whole Draco, the number one.
So he claimed.
Okay.
And he immediately grabbed a hold of Gonzalez's mind. And Gonzalez said it knocked him back on his heels.
Wow.
Gonzalez said before that point he was sure that I was exaggerating. And at this point, in no uncertain terms, it told him, repeat everything I'm saying so everyone can hear. It said that Blue Avians in the Sphere Alliance have deceived you in how powerful we are and how powerful our overlords are. And I was sitting at the table with Gonzalez at the time, and Gonzalez said this is the first time that they had confirmed their overlords.
Wow. That
they reported to someone higher. And he stated that in no uncertain terms that none of the human followers were to be prosecuted. They were all to be given clemency, and that all of the ET groups and the Draco were to be allowed to leave the solar system at will. And that if they didn't, they were going to begin to start reaping havoc on the surface of the earth through war and strife, and he just went on and on and on.
Like false flag, lone
right.
gunmen,
shooting to build up loosh energy,
So it's not like reptilian soldiers with broadswords are going to break loose on the surface of the earth.
No, it was, using their manipulating events on the surface of the earth to reap havoc.
But aren't they already doing that?
Well, yes, but they were talking about stepping it up in a major way. They were like threatening World War III and all kinds of stuff that we've already been assured by the Sphere Alliance is not going to be allowed to happen.
Well, and it seems like benevolent beings, such as the Sphere Alliance and maybe others helping them, are making it impossible for them to do that.
Yes, there's been so many attempts to start World War III that have been thwarted. We could talk about that later. But anyway, this...
so now they're going to push much harder than they were before.
They made this threat.
Right.
And he made all sorts of grandiose threats and then broke off contact with Gonzalez and turned away, and then him and his whole delegation just lumbered out of the room, is the way Gonzalez described it. And Gonzalez had a huge headache. He was nauseated, all the symptoms I had afterwards, and he was just wanting to get the heck out of there. And as they were leaving the way they came in, that same chairman person was walking them out, telling them how serious it was that they, more theater, he said, how serious it was that they listen and take up the offer that this White Royal had offered. And they went up to the roof, got in their vessel, and flew back to give the report.
Sounds like the Draco actually gave away a very impressive secret, a very valuable weakness, that they have an extra-dimensional overlord that they answer to.
Right. And this extra-dimensional overlord also, Gonzalez leaned forward. He said, we believe this extra-dimensional overlord is also responsible for the AI, the ET-ED AI threat. He said there's a lot coming together right now that has been speculation and intelligence has been leading towards for a long time. He said, but this was a very big confirmation. And I asked if these reptilians, the Draco, if they were AI prophets. And he said either that or they're working side by side.
Does the Space Program Alliance have a plan to defeat the extra-dimensional overlords of the Draco? Is there a way to cleanse us of this AI? You mentioned the AI is seeing threats against itself in the future?
Yes. To answer your question real quickly, and I cannot get into it, there is a plan to cleanse the Earth and the solar system of all AI signal.
So we'll be completely free of this?
Yes.
And is this akin to the archetypal notion where if you yank the brain out from the central nexus, then all the drones just collapse over?
All of AI will be taken out in this one move that I like I said, I can't get into.
Without that signal, what will happen to the beings that are loaded up with nanites?
The nanites will just be dormant.
So if those beings are feeding on the nanites, if there's some sort of symbiosis, it would be really bad for them.
Yes, and this leads us into some other discussions about etheric beings that are also going to be driven back to what they call the outer realms, and humans that have these entity attachments, that have symbiotic relationships with these entity attachments, and how they're going to suffer when these entities are driven back to these outer realms. We can talk about that at another time.
All right, well, we ran a little over on this one, but you probably didn't care because this is all very fascinating. I'm David Wilcock. This is Cosmic Disclosure, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Hola, ¿qué tal, amigos? Les saluda su amigo Antonio Cisneros y sean todos ustedes bienvenidos una vez más aquí a su canal de información. En esta ocasión le traigo 3 entrevistas juntas, son subtituladas, disculpen para la persona que me pidió que fueran, que las hablara. Lo que pasa que esta ya la tenía preparada desde hace mucho tiempo. Estas 3 entrevistas que voy a presentar juntas, las puse juntas para que ustedes entiendan realmente, porque es un tema que me imagino que muchos no conocen. Es un tema sobre la inteligencia artificial y para mí es muy importante. Entonces los 3 hablan de lo mismo y como si subía un capítulo se iban a quedar con muchas dudas. O sea, lo que hice, junté los 3. Estos 3 capítulos fueron los últimos que se grabaron en el año pasado, en el 2015, en diciembre, ya como el 28 de diciembre salieron por ahí, a la última semana de diciembre. Estoy hablando de las entrevistas que le hace David Wilcock a Corey Goode, así que se las puse las 3 juntas para que entiendan más o menos. Es un video largo, disculpen, es muy largo, pero creo que es bien importante para que entiendan sobre la inteligencia artificial. Hay mucho que aprender de estas 3. Yo pienso que hay muchas respuestas, ya que muchas personas como yo, buscadores que son mis suscriptores, realmente me han preguntado sobre la inteligencia artificial y me da mucho gusto porque yo no quiero, siempre lo he dicho, no me crean a mí, ustedes también busquen, somos todos, así que somos uno todos y tenemos que buscar todos. Yo no me siento nada más que nadie, todos somos buscadores y andamos detrás de algo que nos conviene a todos, algo que se llama libertad, y lo único que nos va a hacer libre es comprender realmente todo lo que está pasando alrededor de nosotros. Se oiga ridículo, se oiga lo que se oiga, realmente ya no nos asusta nada. Hemos sabido que personas o que no quieres, no te cae bien comprender eso o agarrar eso para ti. Eso depende de cada persona. Aquí realmente estas 3 entrevistas nos van a enseñar muchas cosas acerca de la inteligencia artificial. Habla de cómo derrotarla y cómo las amenazas que son muy fuertes y realmente quiénes son los profetas de la inteligencia artificial. Bueno, es todo, porque es muy largo el video, 1 hora 35 minutos. Yo sé bien que muchos se van a enfadar, pero creo que aquella persona que tenga un tiempo libre y lo vea completamente estas 3 entrevistas, pues las puse juntitas, nada más las separé por capítulo 1, capítulo 2 y capítulo 3, y verán, inclusive al último habla de una reunión que hubo en una ciudad del sur de los Estados Unidos en el cual apareció un Draco blanco real. Soy de ciencia ficción, pero ya verán, óiganlo por ustedes mismos. Seguimos con más investigaciones, seguimos con más información y seguiré sacando. Ustedes saben que en este canal no paro, puedo hablar de muchísimas cosas y cuando dejo algo pendiente es porque ya no hay información, la estoy juntando y luego lo vuelvo a poner. Como ahorita estoy con lo de especie con amnesia, bueno, estoy esperando 3. Las traducciones son largas, amigos, son largas, o sea, de 1 hora me puedo tardar hasta 2 semanas, porque aparte estoy subiendo otro tipo de videos como ustedes están viendo. No paro de subir y cuando me pongo a transcribir todo un video de 1 hora, como lo que quiero hacer, el que sigue de la especie con amnesia, voy a hablar de los Anunnaki. Y realmente es larguísimo, porque no voy a hablar lo que todo el mundo habla, esto es diferente, estas son palabras de un arqueólogo que inclusive se basa mucho en las tablillas, en lo que dicen las tablillas y lo que se ha descubierto con el oro en Sudáfrica y todo. Estoy hablando de Michael Tellinger y realmente es fascinante. Yo voy bien atrasado porque aparte tengo mis investigaciones personales y en veces salgo de aquí 1 hora, 2 horas.
Mentioned so many times. There was sentient life on other planets that was extremely developed before our planet was fully formed.
Wow. What does that do to our sense of uniqueness? So many people in religions are taught we are God's chosen, we are God's special people. And then that idea of being God's special people is used to separate their consciousness from others as if they're an elite, that they're a special, unique, wonderful, chosen by God type of race or culture.
Actually, we are very unique. But then again, you have to, when you're talking about God, who or what are you defining as God? Are you defining the creative source of the universe as God? Do you picture God as a flesh and blood being with a beard? How do you picture God? What do you think God is? There have been no shortage of beings, ETs, and ancient Earth breakaway civilizations that have been happy to step in to that role of God in what we've called a trickster God model.
So, obviously, an intelligent civilization, we could say it's fairly inevitable that they're going to come up with something like the internet at some point.
Yes, that's actually, from what I read, is pretty standard. It is one of the stages that you build up as you...
Y se me va el día. Y entonces es por lo cual que muchas veces se han quedado parados algunos temas, pero siguen en pie. No he cerrado mi canal, esto sigue. Cuando tenga la información completa de ese tema lo voy a subir, así que no se preocupen. Bueno, vamos a seguir y aquí les presento estas 3 entrevistas juntas que eslabonan perfectamente sobre la inteligencia artificial, su amenaza, cómo derrotarlos y quiénes son los profetas de esta inteligencia artificial. Ya verán, se sorprenderán. Vayamos.
Welcome to Cosmic Disclosure. I'm your host, David WILCOCK, and I'm here with Corey Goode. Corey Goode started out as an insider working in the elusive secret space program, which I've heard about for many years from a variety of insiders. There have literally been hundreds of data points that I'd never put online that Corey was able to independently validate from his own experiences. And this, to me, is proof that something is going on. Something very significant, something that completely alters everything that we thought we knew about who we are, about the universe, about intelligent life, and about the preponderance of intelligent life. And in this episode, we're going to start building our way into a discussion of the most prevalent issues that face us today regarding the alliance in the space program that's trying to bring peace to humanity. In order to talk about how we get to peace, we have to talk about the obstacles. So, Corey, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
First of all, just as a very generic question, we know that the universe is estimated to be at least 12 billion years old, maybe a lot older. Do you think there are other planets that had complex fossil life form on them?
From the information I received on the smart glass pads that I've...
Se burlan de estos informantes que salen a hablar. Ya lo hicieron en el pasado con este... ¿Cómo se llama? Bob Lazar. Muchos se burlaron, lo ridiculizaron y todo lo que pasó. Y cuando se descubrió el elemento que él hablaba, el elemento 115, cuando se descubrió casi 20 años después, ya nadie dijo nada. Bueno, yo porque yo lo vi en persona, Bob Lazar, y sé que es una persona, y lo que le pasó fue real. Él casi lo matan, tuvo muchos problemas y ahora tiene su taller y vive, y es una persona, vaya, ya normal, pero realmente la pasó muy mal cuando salió a hablar. Aparte de que la cábala lo siguió y le quiso hacer cosas, también nosotros, muchos de nosotros lo juzgaban, lo acusamos de desinformador, de todo, casi todo se lo acusó, y después de 20 años se le dio la razón que este hombre, lo que había salido a hablar del elemento 115 y del ovni que tenían en el S4, que él trabajó ahí, ya se probó, ya está probado completamente todo, y ahora sale y no le da miedo ir a una conferencia o las reuniones que hay de conferencias de ovnis. En veces aparece y tú puedes platicar con él. Es una persona normal como tú y como yo. Lo único que nunca volvió a trabajar en compañías del gobierno y en grandes compañías. Es un hombre muy inteligente y ahorita, bueno, le va bien porque él es muy inteligente, es una persona que tiene una inteligencia muy alta y es físico, o sea que realmente no le va mal. Así que yo pongo la información aquí. Yo no le digo que le crean todo lo que dice este hombre, nunca lo he dicho. Simplemente siempre hay que ver, hay que investigar y hay que sacar nuestras conclusiones. Aquí nadie tiene la verdad. Acuérdense cómo trabaja el sistema. El sistema comparte todo, o sea, vaya, ¿cómo se dice? Lo compartimiza, vaya, no deja toda la verdad en un solo lado, sino que pone algo aquí, pone algo acá y así se va. No todos saben toda la verdad. Así que uno como buscador tiene realmente que encontrar la verdad. Uno tiene, su corazón le dice a uno que es verdad, que no, que puedes encontrar